Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology update for January 2nd through 9th. Happy New Year. It feels good to get into some new energy and move forward on the numbers today. Speaking at the beginning of the year here, 1, 2, 2, 3, time to get going. This is the energy of 2023 as we go from a 22, which is 2 and 2 is 4, which is about stabilization and trying to find some ground and set up structures. And 5 is that smoke on the wheel and means it's time to roll. And I know supernova souls have been feeling this. Um, kind of the last couple of years being just really confusing and now ready to bust out a little bit. So let's talk about this astrology. Wow, if we're going to look at the energy of 2023 according to what's happening at the beginning of the year, we'll get some insight. We have been feeling very vulnerable, intense weekend with Pluto and Venus together right there for New Year's and bringing up our deepest vulnerabilities around our power, where we've given our power away. It's an opportunity for contractual release, but deep grief and emotions coming up around letting go. Finding the strength. If Venus is representing our feminine and our feminine is finding the strength to stand up and say no more. Boundaries are so powerful and so healthy, and breaking these contracts is healthy, but it there's grief and loss. And we've kind of been stuck in the grief and loss energy ever since just this whole thing of coming out, trying to come out of the Piscean age. But this is different because it's a feeling of knowing that you can't go back to the old patterns and almost just like paying them their due for getting you where you are. But a lot of frustration building with Venus, Pluto standing up to the man where we've given our energy to away to outside forces. And then yesterday or today, the sun is exactly square Chiron. And the sun in Capricorn, exactly square Chiron in Aries. And it's just like the tension is building. Aries can be angry. It's like the just righteous anger that moves you. And this is exactly the energy we need to get up off the couch, get up out of our lives, get up out of the stagnancy, get up out of victim, get up out of the shock, get up out of the immobilization, and take the reins back on our life. So it's like the pressure. So 2023 is about like it's do or die, it's now or never. Right as we move into the new year, Chiron square the sun. Now, the sun is who do we think we are? In Capricorn, it's about resolving our issues around who are we in uh, beholden to other people's agendas, outside energies, and who are we according to our own sovereignty and authority. Chiron and Aries is that fight for life, that fight for freedom, that just the getting up the gumption to claim back life force. And this is our only way out of this mess is to recognize that we have been allowing our own energy, our precious, precious gift of creation energy within our own body, in our own field, to be absconded with and used for dark purposes to create a lower grid matrix to keep humanity enslaved. Oh, that's great. And so what's happening right now is this astrology is saying one by one, humanity is taking back, humans are taking back their power, recognizing this. Say, I'm not feeding, I'm not playing host. No effing way are we going to allow this bullshit in our reality? So, this is on a microcosm level and a macrocosm level. And so, we're being shown very clearly in our life where we probably didn't realize it, but we've been hosting the dark side. And this is the deal, right? When in order to be here on earth in this evolutionary story, we all had to take on the devil. We all had to play out the duality consciousness. So as we come to the flip, the shift, in consciousness and moving into the age of Aquarius, the duality consciousness is getting very stronger and stronger and stronger. Um, Recognizing that both sides are playing for Satan, if you want to look at it that way, metaphorically or whatever, just to try to bring some conceptual awareness. And we want to be in the center, the middle way, the way. That's the Christ consciousness. And it's a neutral place. So, all of this astrology is about triggering you in those triggers to show you those triggers where you're not neutral. Also, Venus in Capricorn uh, is just had that Pluto conjunction now in an exact opposition with Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. And so we're looking at the darkest darkness of the wound of separation at 29 degrees. Can't make it up. This is a powerful story that's being told. And thank you for being here, paying attention with me and be getting into it, because so this Venus Pluto conjunction opposite Black Moon Lilith is like climbing into that core wound of separation, just climbing into it, just being in there. It's like, oh, facing and looking at all of our lower self, our lower reality, our insecurities, our jealousies, our just wherever we are not in that pure light of what we know, who we know we are. And this is what this season is about. It's about a renewal and coming back into the purity of our true soul essence. And that's also that middle way, that neutral path. And wow, forces are really working to trigger us though. Are you feeling it? It's just like and I don't think it's gonna until we have like kind of a bigger shift, those energies aren't gonna, they're just ramping up. But if we can be like, oh yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Because I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna feed the monster. So this is what's playing out now tomorrow or on Thursday, Wednesday, the 4th. Venus moves into the sign of Aquarius, right? So Venus is now at 29 degrees Capricorn, around where she allowed outside forces to dictate her reality when she's actually creation energy direct herself. But it's vulnerable and it's scary to stand up and take back your power because then you're all alone. And this has been her whole problem. She's like stuck in the dungeon all alone, not feeling even worthy of the light or support. And very powerful energies as Venus and Mercury came into this conjunction um on the 30th of December. Meeting past Mercury and Venus, Mercury turning retrograde, Venus going on to meet up with Pluto. So she's feeling a little bit like, oh, I had a friend, and this is a supernova souls have been feeling this again and again over the last years. A feeling like, oh, well, I met somebody, or I feel like maybe these are my team, my soulmates. And then once again, finding those old patterns of manipulation and deceit and karmic relationships that are designed to distract you and bring you down. And then it's like, how can we ever trust again? And this is kind of what Venus is feeling like, oh, I have a friend, Mercury, but then Mercury's like, got some shit to figure out here around how we take back our mind from the mind control. And with this long stretch of 2.5 months of Mercury in Capricorn, and then Venus kind of having to go on alone by herself. But we know that this is the truth. We know that this evolution is about an individual choice for spiritual ascension and coming back to God consciousness as the individual identity we are. And so when you come to that darkest place, that deepest shadow, that the fear, the dark night of the soul, you know that you have to get yourself over it because and this is why how we're undoing the whole needing a savior energy from the Piscean age. And because this is a free will universe. We each have to decide within us that we're going to choose spiritual ascension. And that means moving through the darkness and the fear and knowing that there's something on the other side, knowing from your soul faith, everything you've gone through over past lives, that there's something on the other side. And you can, if you don't find that strength within you to get over that, then how can you ever hold space for other people? And maybe this is part of the supernova tribe story. It's like we're paving the way. We're taking the torch into the darkest places, and that's what we've done, incarnated as the light in the darkest times. What are we even thinking? And the whole deal is that energy of trauma and drama has been so deeply programmed within our psyche, very deliberately, to make sure that we never get out of our hole. And so this is the feminine hanging out in the corner of the dungeon where the light hasn't been able to come in. So she's hanging out with Pluto. She just crossed Pluto, now opposition with Black Moon Lilith, and that's exact tomorrow. And that will go through the first week of January. So this is intense energy saying that the feminine must break free. But how does she do it? She comes back into connection because from interconnectedness, your soul spiritual needs are met. Your life force, your prana, your mana, the energy of the universe available to us is really all we need. And it's right here in our very own body. And it's so powerful. And so Venus opposite Black Moon Lilith is having that thing of like, oh, here I am in my core wound again. And then it's just kind of like, how about you just lay down there and use your own energy to heal yourself? And there's something powerful with that. Edgar Casey, what came through the Edgar Casey readings was that how did he get his psychic power? And it was a past life where he healed himself in a life or death situation. So there's something around releasing and containing, owning our own life force, the energy of creation within us, and focusing it and knowing it's ours, knowing that it's our birthright. And we've already experienced working with power on so many different levels. And using the energies of these dark night times find to find the gumption to heal and to claim back, to heal ourselves and and direct this energy in our body. So I think this is going to be the main kind of concepts around the healing, the next phase of health and healing, um, as we move forward. And that's exactly the energy of Chiron in Aries. So the Sun square Chiron is exactly this. We've got to claim back our power if we're going to heal ourselves to move forward, because very quickly a dark agenda is taking hold on a cellular level in the human body. And so here we are, and we're going to overcome. And that's what 2023 is about. And, um, let's talk about the story of Venus in this connection with Mercury turning direct, and now, I mean, retrograde, and Venus moving on. The next time that Mercury and Venus, this feeling of this buddy, this friend that Venus has found, the next time they come together, by the time, because Mercury will have another retrograde and then finally catch up to Venus when Venus turns retrograde, slows down to turn retrograde. That happens they come together on the 28th of July at 28 degrees Leo. And so Venus, it will have had just had turned retrograde, and Venus retrograde takes quite a while. It's like 6 weeks in Leo, very powerful time, and probably a couple months in Leo altogether because it happens at the end. And so, but they come together again, Mercury and Venus, and now also, okay, so Venus is opposite Black Moon Lilith right now at 29 degrees Cancer. Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees Cancer, Venus at 29 degrees Capricorn. Wow, the cardinal signs, you're getting your ass kicked right now, but it's because it's time to move. And so Venus, Venus moves into Aquarius on tomorrow or on the 4th. Black Moon Lilith moves into in a week, moves into Leo. And that's going to be a huge change because it's like the deepest, darkest secrets and hidden things in our psyche. And then Leo is like shining the light on. It's just like illuminating, no more hiding in the darkness. And that's a call for supernova souls. Now, get this, Black Moon Lilith will stay in Leo all this whole next season. And then by the time Venus gets all the way halfway around, comes into Leo, is going to come up with conjunctions. Right now, they're opposite. They're going to conjunct in July, on July 1st. They're going to come together August 10th and 11th. And then for the third and final time, they come together on October 10th. This is cleaning up the feminine, all the dark hidden stuff. These are the deepest occult mysteries. The feminine, we're talking about, oh, well, it's like, but when we talk about the feminine, we're talking about what was cut out of the Bible. We're talking about the other side of the story. We're talking about deep and profound truths that have been hidden away since Atlantean time. And these are our deepest mysteries. And also the feminine, that's why the feminine is so energy of distraught and persecution, because the feminine is associated with these teaching, the Magdalene teachings, you could maybe call them. And this is uncovering and releasing, taking out of the darkness the shame, these teachings and these truths, and bringing them back to the light of day, and bringing the feminine back into shining her light, getting the light, making it all the way back into the corner of the dungeon so she can find her way out of there for good. And very powerful year. It's about the empowerment of the feminine within all of us. And that third and final conjunction with Black Moon, Lilith, and Venus in October will be at 0 degrees Virgo. And that is really powerful because it's like all this Leo stuff. And then it's like this ultimate rebirth purification, 0 degrees, 0 point. And Virgo is the sign of purification, of healing, of regeneration. And so complete rebirth of the feminine within us in 2023 is the energies. Okay, so coming back to here, the very beginning of the year, that Sun square Chiron, very tense because it's bringing up all of everywhere you haven't been able to live your truth. And a lot of frustrations coming up around our financial system, and knowing that it doesn't have to be this way, but we're being so manipulated and controlled, and frustration at what it takes to just live and survive in this world when we know that there's technology available and systems that can completely just annihilate this Babylonian money magic financial slavery situation. And we know this, and it's kind of like, well, we're just getting through. But there's just a lot coming up around what it takes to survive with this Sun square Chiron, and the frustration at why can't we just live our life? And this is the truth. This is like all those distracting factors and triggers that are trying to pull us out of our space. And a big part of the whole supernova journey is recognizing where maybe in the Piscean age and different incarnations, you came in and you felt the pain and the suffering. Maybe you felt like you had caused it, you on some level, because that's the whole Atlantean story. And then in order to help, we wanted to help, and we felt like we needed to, and that was our job here. But then we became involved karmically, and thinking that helping was struggling and suffering along with, you know, and this is where supernova souls got to step back and um reverse engineer that programming, and recognize that your peace of mind and your vibrational alignment with that divine timeline, that ideal, that we're just claiming back this peace, this joy, this well-being, that is being in that space is doing more to help, you know, than getting involved in the stories. And it's weird, but it's all about this Venus conjunct Pluto, is these contractual arrangements where we've taken on responsibilities, emotional responsibilities for other people. For supernova souls, that could be groups of people, really big groups. from past lives where you were a leader, because we have this whole story, where we've already been leaders. We were put in a position to be a leader, but then it was like our power was manipulated from us and used for uh, dark agendas. And then we said, never going to do that again. But we created karmic energies of responsibility, and it might be those karmic groups, like group contracts, that are keeping us from keep coming into our leadership potential. But it's time for us to step up to the plate and claim our potential, our magic, and our joy. Now, this is the energy of the Cancer full moon. So powerful after this Black Moon Lilith for the last few months, just in Cancer, just bringing up our darkest vulnerabilities, where we don't feel connected, where we don't feel loved, where we don't feel safe. And now, what's happening for this full moon is that, Black Moon Lilith at the very end degrees of Cancer, just about to move over into Leo. And it's happening at this Friday, January 6th. And I hope you can consider coming to the activation. It's happening at 10 a.m. Mountain Time in the US. So 16 degrees Cancer, 22 minutes. So we got another 22 energy, and the planets are lining up at 22 degrees. And so there's a very powerful message there, because it's 22 is a master builder number, and it's speaking to the last Aquarian age, which was Atlantean time. And 22 being building a new world based on the actual technologies available to us, but in a healthy way that's in alignment, taking back those technologies and building a new world. So 16 degrees Cancer, 22 minutes puts the moon in Cancer in a sextile relationship with Uranus in Taurus. That puts the sun in a trine with Taurus. So very magical, mystical energies here. Uranus and Taurus, these dynamic, beautiful connections with this full moon, is saying that it's time for us to receive again our higher intuitive gifts. Uranus is higher frequency vibration. It's that ancient technology, future wisdom, access to the Akashic records, being able to have our direct access to our higher self, higher vibrational frequency, spiritual ascension. And in Taurus, it's about whether or not we deserve it. Are you good enough? And this is what this full moon is saying with these harmonious transits. It's like, oh yeah, it's time to step into our wealth and our abundance. And it's, of course, we need to come back. How can you do that if you feel disconnected and abandoned and, victimized by this world, which we all are, especially supernova souls? But it's time for us to get out of that energy now. So the sun in Capricorn and the 16 degrees right at the middle, right in the heart of it here. And the sun in Capricorn around claiming our own autonomy, our own authority. And then in trine to Uranus in Taurus. And that's how we own our gifts and take back our wealth, is by claiming our own autonomy. And then in sextile, the moon in sextile relationship, the full moon in Cancer, about owning back our interconnectedness and learning to receive and feeling a part of spiritual life again. In a very sweet sextile to Uranus and Taurus, and saying that it is time. And then that Black Moon Lilith at the very end agrees to say, this is deep dive into that wound is all about releasing it for good, so we can finally receive the abundance of who we are. So, uh, powerful messages with this full moon, and I hope that you can join me for that. Now, the sun and Mercury are going to meet back up, because Mercury just turned retrograde on the 29th. And so this week, this next weekend, right after the full moon, is when Black Moon Lilith moves into Leo. So a huge shift of energy there. It's like, whoa, shine the light on it. And then we also have the sun meeting back up with Mercury. Mercury meeting back up with the sun. And this we'll feel it all weekend and into next week. And it's like illuminating the issue of this mind control problem, that our mind isn't free. There's been mind control stuff going on since World War II or one or who knows, I mean, for so long, and it was on individual testing on individuals. Now it's all of us, and it has been for a long time. Propaganda and mind control, and this all the lies. Our whole reality is based on lies. Our history is completely wrong. Our science is completely inside out. Healthcare is a joke. It's like we're how about you pay us to keep you sick so you can continue to pay us to make you sicker? Oh, that sounds good. And we'll call it care. Yeah. And so the sun and Mercury conjunction is also has an illuminating energy here. Kind of like, wait, I can get out of this because we didn't come here to stay as victims. We came here to be Houdini and break out of this and be who we really are. And all it takes is coming into our full expression, our true light that we've already done. We've already accessed light body and higher evolutionary states in previous lifetimes on this earth. They just don't want us to know and remember. That's why we're traumatized, our memory centers. And now we are like, whoa. And maybe it's that life force coming again and feeling it and being like, wait a minute. So you don't know how much you haven't been living until you start living again. This is the energy of Jupiter and Aries. And Jupiter is now at 1 degree as of the 31st of December. Jupiter made it to 1 degree, making it to 2 degrees this week. So it's a huge shift of energy because the other thing we have going on, it's like things are starting to move and shifting. It's like we're inching forward. We're like coming. It's like that where like there's kind of like it's not the gear isn't catching. It's like in between gears. And this is where we've been since literally January 2020. And now the gears are catching. Okay. But it's going to take a little bit to kind of hook in, right? It goes a few times around. And that's what this next couple of weeks and months are about. But just talking about this energy and how the astrology is speaking to this Neptune, Pluto, very small, slow moving planets, but Pluto making it to 28 degrees Capricorn, heading into Aquarius. March 2023 has been in Capricorn since 2008. So 28 degrees is massive, and that happens on the 12th of January, the same day that Mars turns direct, right? So it's like catching. Oh, 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 are we going? And Neptune has made it this week, makes it to 23 degrees. So they're coming out of their retrograde energy, moving, towards pointing into new territory, and we're feeling this, and that's where we want to run with this. And maybe that is this, like the cardinal signs getting really activated this season. It's about, come on, time to go. And don't worry, we're doing it together. Very powerful with Saturn at 22 degrees Aquarius, Neptune at 22 degrees Pisces, and Mercury, then Venus and Mercury have been crossing over this 22 marker in Capricorn. So Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, the end degrees of the zodiac, 2020, 22 degrees just at the end of 2022. And 22 is about that master builder building a whole new world, a portal to a whole new reality. And so when the planets line up like this, one sign apart, it speaks to an activation of the light body of the field, the full potential of humanity, the next level of human experience that we've been held back from for thousands of years. And we're on the edge. We're taking it this time. Nothing can stop it. And that is the picture of an activated light body. Because if you had planets in all of the signs, it would make the flower of life pattern. So when these line up exact like this, it's like activation, activation. And it's a mystical, magical activation. And it's about our role in the Aquarian age with Saturn in Aquarius. Also, moving forward now, Saturn will be moving to 23 degrees next week as well. So we've got everybody inching forward. Uranus still retrograde, but Uranus turns direct on the 23rd. Mars, Mars turns direct on the 8th, I mean on the 12th, but has made it back to 8 degrees where it turns retrograde. So the whole month of January, um, Mars is at 8 degrees Gemini. And interesting that Mercury's last retrograde was started at 8 degrees Libra. And then this Mercury will be retrograding back to 8 degrees. So very powerful messages with this absolute transformation. These retrogrades are about transformation now of our mind and releasing from mind control. It's about 6 weeks, a Mercury retrograde cycle. Mercury turns direct on the 19th of January, just before the new moon in Aquarius on the 21st, and then Uranus direct. So that's gonna be very powerful catching, moving forward kind of thing. And it's almost like I'm seeing this like timelines kicking into gear, levels of consciousness, we've made the leap, but we haven't been able to really hook in yet, right? We're just getting our bearings. And then things begin to move this month and next month because Mercury comes out of retrograde shadow on the 7th of February and then meets up with Pluto. Because we talked about Venus just met up with Pluto, Mercury takes retrograde. And when Mercury comes back to Pluto, it's a powerful meeting because he's representing Venus too and representing the freedom that's available. And why don't we have it? Powerful council meeting between Mercury and Pluto on February 10th. And then Jupiter comes out of retrograde shadow on February 11th. So these are our ratcheting up of this forward motion, claiming back our life and our life force. And it's like we've got to get a running start, but we've had 2 years to do so. And that was what it was about. Mercury going backwards means that it's taking in Capricorn, there will be 3 squares with Chiron and the sun is in the square right now. So this is a huge energy. The sun square Chiron we talked about will feel through this week and then through the weekend. And then next week we'll start feeling Mercury coming back into square with Chiron. Then after Mercury turns direct, it will square with Chiron again. And so the second week of January is about this on the 11th is when Mercury will square Chiron. So it's like kind of a whole month of energy of squares with Chiron with this retrograde. And that's that Capricorn and cardinal sign activation. And isn't it interesting? Chiron will be at 12 degrees then, but it's been at 11 degrees and it turned direct at 11 degrees. And these squares have all happened at 11 degrees. The North Node is also at 11 degrees Taurus. So we have that semi-sextile, 2 signs lining up at 11 degrees of Chiron and Aries and North Node and Taurus. So that lining up is happening too. On the 11th of January is the second Mercury square Chiron, and that will feel to the middle of the month. And then there's one on the 27th, 28th at the end of the month. So all of January, we're starting out with Sun square Chiron, and then Mercury square Chiron, Mercury square Chiron. And it's this fight for life force. Like the recognition that we have almost given up our whole energy into a very dark agenda. And as humans wake up to this and say, oh no, right? I mean, just think about it. We've all had this experience of supernova souls in a narcissistic relationship where you're kind of going along with the program. It doesn't feel right. You don't really know what's going on. You're trying really hard. You're trying to communicate effectively with, energies that it's impossible to communicate with and beating yourself up and trying to make it all better and make it work. And then some point you realize that you're in a narcissistic relationship and you're playing out the narcissist empath drama and you're being codependent and you're being abused. And then you're like, no effing way, you know? And this is where we're at collectively and globally, one by one, humans being like, what? And then the deep grief and the gross feelings of like playing host. Really? I allow myself to be that corrupted, except for that our soul essence is uncorruptible. And so this is this is the energy that we're working with here. And that's exactly the same as our feminine, the feminine within all of us coming back into the light and shining, coming out of those shadows and bringing back the feminine mysteries into our world and the balance that comes from the interconnectedness. Everything we've been dealing with, feeling how disconnected we are over this last month. I mean, this whole agenda of the last couple of years is about us being disconnected from each other, from ourself, from our soul, from source, from spirit. And so 2023, if moving forward means coming back into connection. And that's so powerful. Venus opposite Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees. It's the end of the story. We can't do it this way anymore. So here we go. Are you ready? And we have a couple of more weeks to kind of get our come up against the wall a little bit more and figure out exactly our next steps and be ready to shoot out of that rocket. So the other thing that's been happening, because Venus and Mercury came together and they came in together at these 22 degrees marker, we have one more of these Mercury sextile. They've been in sextile to Neptune. And we have Mercury sextile Neptune on the 3rd. And then after the whole retrograde in February, this will happen again. So this is the last Mercury sextile Neptune. We've had a whole week and a half kind of feeling this energy starting and from around solstice. So this with Mercury slowing down and Mercury at 22 degrees making this beautiful lining up, and that means a sextile with Neptune, semi-sextile with Saturn, speaking about mystical, magical possibilities of getting our mind, emancipating our mind into our own sovereignty and autonomy as we come out of the age of Pisces and the trauma and drama programming and into our role in the Aquarian age. So that's what this time is about. And it's radical and it's fast. And once things start going, it might be really quick. So get your house in order. Capricorn is organized and step by step, methodical. Use this energy to get organized and get ready. Part of the deal with supernova souls is that they're astral travelers. Like you are so incredibly talented on other levels. This is how it kind of feels to be a supernova soul. It's like, oh, I on this other level, this astral plane, I'm such a badass. But in 3D mundane earth life, I'm kind of flailing. Um, and so you really cannot do the astral plane work and that other level of energetic work if you are not anchored in your body here. It actually can be very dangerous. And this is part of the deal with this current health situation. It's interfering with our soul body connection, trying to. It's also giving us an opportunity to grab a hold of it and never let go. Our our stability as a soul and a body here on earth. Because if you don't have that locality of being home in your body and where you are, then that work on the other levels can't happen. So much of this energy of Jupiter moving back into Aries has been about anchoring home, being here, and landing in our body. And so that's a beautiful energy of Uranus and Taurus too. It's like, yeah, you're a cosmic star being, but you're here on Earth. And so we've been definitely issues with the concept of ascension being going up and leaving and floating away. It's dangerous, those concepts, because ascension is about if we don't hold on to our body, then we're screwed. And so we're really anchoring in that light. And this is the process we're in. So Uranus and Taurus is about our permission and ability to receive that higher intuitive knowledge, our higher wisdom, that higher frequency vibration, and embody it. In Taurus, it's about embodiment. And so beautiful energy coming together for this Cancer full moon. The Sun square Chiron will be coming off. The tension transits, Venus opposite Black Moon Lilith coming off on the 6th. So it's like we've got all this tension leading up to this full moon, and we'll see what it's like. But huge shifts of energy with Venus moving into Aquarius, Black Moon Lilith into Leo, all of our big major slow moving planets shifting a degree forward. It's happening, and nothing can stop it. And I'm so glad we're here together, supernovas. So, this is the my YouTube update for this week for Supernova Astrology update, and the Friday video will be available on the membership group, Supernova Soul Tribe membership group, and you can find out about that. Information is in the information box below. Also, don't forget about the full moon activation Friday, January 6th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time in the US, and the link for that is in box as well. So thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate Supernovas going through all you've gone through. 2023 is going to be a game changer year for us. And so let's do it. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.